Wainwright, the head of sales for Grow For Me. And in this video, I'm going to be walking you through more information around how you sponsor a crop, what the different information points are around your returns are going to be like, in terms of what the variables are when it comes to yields and prices, what are the determining factors behind how much money you're going to get paid back out. So when you have decided to sponsor a crop, and I'm just using soybean for today's example, you'll be brought to this page. On this page, you'll name your farm. I'm naming my farm today, Lorraine's Farm. You will have the option to select how many units you would like. And as a reminder, if you have not seen a previous video, we measure all of our crops through the measurement of a unit, and the unit is the equivalent of 1/8 of an acre, or the equivalent of half a plot of land if you're familiar with purchasing land in Ghana. So if you had a budget in mind and your budget was in Ghana cedis that you wanted to spend, let's say 5,000 Ghana cedis, you can select the number of units up to that value. And on the right hand side, you'll be able to see that very dynamically how many units it would cost or how many units it would take to reach that budget that you have in mind. So if I have 5,000 Ghana cedis in my mind, that would mean that I would be trying to sponsor roughly 37 units. So what you'll see on the right hand side is the information breakdown. If I'm selecting 37 units, or rather maybe in your mind you said you wanted to buy a certain number of acres, for example, or you wanted to sponsor a certain number of acres, you might say you wanted to sponsor, 20 acres. You will then calculate that, and then you will select how many units, and then you will see all the information on the right hand side. So for this example where I am selecting based on the budget that I have in mind, you would see that the cost of production per unit for this particular cycle of soybeans is 125 cedis per unit. You'll then also see the service charge. Now, service charge is 10% of whatever it is that you spend. Now, our service charge really just covers off the basic costs for our extension officers to go out and to supervise the land, for our drone pilots to take pictures to keep you guys up to date. There's really the basic cost just to cover the various services that we need to do in order to make sure that we're yielding the best results for yourselves. Now, what you'll see here is the total amount payable. So as I said, I had a budget of about 5,000 cedis in my mind, and that is the amount that's given here. On the right-hand side, you will see what your potential return on sponsorship would be. Like with any form of investment, we can never guarantee what your returns will be, but we always give you a range, a low side and a high side. On the low side, what you're likely to get with this particular crop will be a return of 370 cedis on top of my principal payment, or on the high side, 1,618 cedis if we were to do super well. Now, when you break that down, this is how this information is derived. You would see more information that explains how that return is generated. Now, your return would always be based on two variables. The first variable is the yield, and the second variable is the price. On the yield, what you'll see here is approximately how much you'll be yielding, i.e. how much soybeans in kilos will be produced based on the number of units that you have purchased. Now with that, on the low side, and again we give you a range, so on the low side we are going to be yielding 4,162 kilos of soybeans. Based on experience, we always look at what that range may be on the low side and the high side. On the high side, if we do really well in that season, we will generate and produce 5,550 kilos of soybeans. Now, in terms of the second variable is price. So there's always going to be a variation in terms of what the price may be at any one point. Now, we are a registered broker on the Ghana Commodity Exchange, so we do have access to the prices in the market. So these are prices that are not, that's public information. You can find at any one point through the Ghana Commodity Exchange the prices for soybean per kilo. Now, the range that we are used to seeing, especially given our experience and also what's available at the Ghana Commodity Exchange, is that the selling price per kilo. So once you produce a kilo of soybean, how much that will sell to if you also sell that to an off-taker, that goes from anywhere from 1 cedi 40 pesewas up to 1 cedi 50 pesewas. Now, it's those two variables, the price and the yield, what would determine your return. Now, based on that information, what you would see is that if we were to have a low yield and a low price point, what you would get as a sponsor. Now remember, as a sponsor, you're entitled to 50% of the profits, the farmer gets 35%, and we Grow For Me get 15%. So what you would see here is what your profit would be if we were to do the low side of that. So that would be 370 cedis. Now the farmer, you'll see what they would get, which is 259 cedis, and Grow For Me as 111 cedis. Now we were to do super well, and the yield price was on point and was good, and the price point was also very good at that particular time. You would see that your return would be 1,618 cedis, and then the profit margin to the farmer is also depicted there together with what Grow For Me would get. So your returns would essentially be what you originally put in, which was the 5,087 pesos and 5,087 cedis and 50 pesos. But it would include, and be on top of that, would include your profit. So when we pay out to you, which the payout will be 2 to 3 weeks after we have sold, after we've harvested and sold the items, you will get back your principal payment plus your profits. And the profits is what's being shown here. So I hope that is clear. If you have any further questions, do feel free to reach out to me. My email address is Lorraine@growforme.com. Thank you very much.